I'm gonna go out on the limb here and say this is the only video you need to watch to fully understand how Instagram's algorithm works in 2026. I have done so much research for this video, and I'm gonna be breaking down what people get wrong about the algorithm, what actually happens after you post, how the ranking system works, things that are working against you when it comes to how your content is ranked that you don't even know about, how you can take control of the algorithm and actually get your content to be pushed out to more people, and of course, what's changing to Instagram's algorithm in 2026 and what you should be doing about it. Do you see what I mean when I say this is the only video you need to watch? Buckle up, we've got a lot to cover, and by the way, this video is sponsored by Storyblocks, more on them later. First thing you need to know about Instagram's algorithm is that there's not one, there are multiple. There are multiple algorithms powering Instagram, and they all behave in different ways. The reason for this is because there are multiple features on Instagram, and we engage differently with each of these features. For example, our home feeds, to our Reels tab, to our Explore page, they're all different, and therefore they all behave differently. In order for you to truly know how to leverage Instagram's algorithm and utilize it as a tool for growth rather than the enemy, you need to fully understand how it works. So let's take a bit of a step back and let's talk about why it exists in the first place. Now, if you're as old as I am, then you'll remember a time when Instagram's home feed was chronological. That means that everything you saw was based on the time in which it was posted. Now, there is a way for you to manually change your home feed so it's in chronological order now. However, we all know that that's not the default way of consuming content on Instagram. You might be wondering, why did we move away from this chronological feed, right? I actually remember a time where I could scroll through Instagram and get to the bottom. Like, I could get to the point when there was no more content and you were all caught up. I can't even imagine a world where that was a thing now. Like, that seems so alien to me. The thing is, that all changed in 2016. Instagram realized that people were missing over 70% of the content that they wanted to see from their home feeds. And this was because Instagram was growing, right? More and more people were joining the platform, which means more content was being shared, which means Instagram felt that there needed to be some way of sorting through that content and ensuring that people were seeing the content they actually wanted to see. Their solution to this was the algorithms. Now, whether or not you agree with this decision is a whole nother conversation. The point is, they made that decision. And now, as the creators of content on social media, it's our job to understand how the algorithms work so that we can utilize them in order to get our content to be shown to more people. So let's dive into it and let's kick off by talking about what exactly happens after you post on Instagram. So let's break this down step by step. I want to make this really clear and really easy to understand. So step one, aka the first thing that happens after you post. Instagram will allocate an algorithm to rank your content. Now, I know that sounds complicated, but just stick with me here, right? As I previously mentioned, there are multiple algorithms powering Instagram. The main ones to be aware of are your feed and story algorithm, they're often grouped, your explore page algorithm, and your Reels algorithm. So when you share a piece of content on Instagram, the first thing that needs to happen is Instagram needs to figure out which algorithm is going to rank your content. Did you upload a Reel? In which case it will be the Reel algorithm. Maybe it will decide it's going to be the explore page algorithm as well as the feed page algorithm. Two of the algorithms can be working at the same time. Yes, I know that sounds complicated, but that is what can happen. A good way to think of this is like thinking of the algorithms as people who like rule over all of the content on Instagram. I like this analogy. They're people who just rule over all the content on Instagram, and it's their job to judge the content you create. So now that Instagram's allocated an algorithm or two to your content, we can move on to step two, which is all about the algorithm signals. Now, what you need to know here is that everything on Instagram runs on signals. Interestingly, these signals are less to do with you as the creator and more to do with your audience. So the group of people who are potentially going to see your post, Instagram's mainly watching them and getting signals for them. The best way to think about this is as like a matchmaking service, right? Whenever you share a piece of content, Instagram's algorithms are doing their best to find an Instagram user who would love that content you just posted, right? They're trying to match you two together. That's their core purpose. One of the main ways in which they do this is by first gathering some key signals from your potential audience. So they're going to be looking at things like, how do this potential audience group interact with Instagram already? A good way to think of this potential audience group is your followers, because a lot of the time that's going to be the first group of people that the algorithms are looking at. So it's going to look at your followers and think, how do these people interact with Instagram? Do they tend to like content that's similar to the post that you just shared? So for example, if you just shared a Get Ready With Me, the algorithm's going to look at your followers and think, okay, do these people usually engage with Get Ready With Me content? Another thing it's going to look at is how your audience interacts with you already. Do your audience usually like your content? Do they normally leave comments? Do you two DM each other? Etc, etc. These are all incredibly valuable signals. And if the answer is is yes to any of those signals, the chances are you're probably going to get a good ranking and your content will probably be shown to those people. I am getting ahead of myself though. So let's go on to step number 3. This is a step where Instagram makes predictions. This is a step that people get annoyed with because it's kind of like Instagram going, it's a good post. Just making some educated guesses. As we know, Instagram have just collected some signals, mostly about your potential audience, to help them figure out if your post is a good match for them. What it's now going to do is look at that group of people and essentially guess if they're going to interact with your content. So it's going to look at those group of people based on those signals and think, okay, I reckon half of these people, specifically these ones, are probably going to like this post. They're probably going to comment on it. They might even share it or save it, right? So you're going to spend some time figuring out who in that audience is most likely to interact with you. Step 4 is when Instagram turns these predictions into a ranking. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jade, is it like a ranking of 1 to 10? Like, how does that work? Instagram doesn't share that information. All we know is that these algorithms that are proceeding over us and just judging us all the time, that they are going to rank our content based on all of the steps that I just broke down. So if they've looked at those signals, they've made some predictions, and they've decided all of these people, thousands of people, are going to love your content, they're going to be the people who first get to see it. Now, if the algorithms are proven right and your content does start to get a lot of engagement, maybe people watch your video the whole way through, if it was a video you shared, right? If the algorithm starts to pick up on these additional signals, it will push it out to even more people, aka your rank will go even higher. Right? That is how people end up going viral. And that's also what happens after you post. I'm really proud of myself there. I feel like I did a really good job of explaining that. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, or just let me know if you do agree. Okay, before we move on, I do want to take a quick second to talk to you about a tool that you should be using if you're trying to thrive on Instagram in 2026. That tool is called Storyblocks. If you are new to Storyblocks, where have you been? It is essentially an unlimited stock media subscription service that gives you access to millions of high quality videos, images, sound effects, special effects, templates. Honestly, the list just goes on. One of my favorite things about Storyblocks is that it has this huge library of content that is 100% human made. That means it's built on real experiences and creativity, which also means no AI generative content, okay? So all the content you're gonna get, the videos, the photos, etc., that's being created by a human. And that's what helps you tell human stories. And human stories, as we all know, is what's gonna help you thrive on social media this year. Now, that doesn't mean that they ignore AI completely. They actually have an AI toolkit, which makes it super easy for you to integrate and utilize the amazing content they have in their library. For example, if you use the AI video editing tool, it allows you to take any footage, clip it, and quickly customize it to make it the perfect fit for your project. This, in my opinion, is the perfect way to utilize AI. You want to utilize it to speed up the production process rather than to replace the output entirely. So if you want to get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/Jade Beason or click the link in my description. All right, so we covered the core foundations and I feel like we're both on the same page. We both understand what happens after we post. Now let's talk about the different algorithms and how they differ. Because remember I said that you've got your feed and stories algorithm, your explore page, your reel tabs. They're all different, right? So we need to figure out how each of them work in order for us to leverage them. First up, your feed and stories algorithm. These are often grouped together. And the reason why is because the way in which our audience engages with these features is pretty similar. So usually people want to consume content from their friends, family, or close connections on their feed and their stories. Think about how you use your feed and your stories. Because I'm willing to bet it aligns with what I just said, right? You're not usually scrolling down your feed because you're trying to be served brand new, fresh content. You're usually going down your feed because you're trying to keep up with the people you already follow and know. The algorithm is designed to help you do that. So we have spoken about the broad signals that all algorithms look at, but there are some signals that are specific to the different algorithms. So for your feed and your story post, for example, that algorithm is looking at a few signals. But in my opinion, the most important one is the relationship that your audience has with you, right? Because remember, this algorithm is all about ensuring that people see content from the people that they follow or they love or whatever, right? So if there are some core signals that are suggesting that you have a good relationship with your audience, it's going to help your ranking on your feed and your stories. So if you engage with each other, you send DMs to each other, you respond to their comments, these are all signals that suggest that you have a relationship and that are going to help you when it comes to this algorithm's ranking. Now let's talk about the explore page, the almighty explore page. I called it almighty because you get on that explore page, some stuff's gonna happen for you. Your dreams might come true. I laugh, but I'm kind of serious. The explore page is usually where virality happens. So it's usually the thing that most people are aiming to get on. The core thing to know about the explore page and its associated algorithm is that it's a recommendation engine and not a follower feed. So if you go onto your explore page right now, you're about to see a bunch of content, and most of it will be from people you don't already follow, but the content you'll be seeing will be based on your consumption habits. So if we go on mine, for example, where's my phone? Hold on. Okay, so if you look at my explore page, I'm laughing to myself because this is the most me thing I've ever seen in my life. Like the aesthetics, every single part of it, all you are seeing is incredible homes and like beautiful people with great clothes and great hair. Essentially what I'm looking at. That's like all I care about at the minute. Gosh, that makes you seem shallow. I don't even care. But anyway, that's what my explore page looks like. If you go on your explore page, it's going to look super different. And that's because each explore page is unique to each user. So what's unique about the algorithm that drives the explore page? Well, the popularity signals are far more important when it comes to the explore page algorithm than they are across any of the other algorithms. Let me explain. The popularity signals I'm referring to here are the likes, the shares, the saves, and the comments. These are the popularity signals. What's key about the explore page algorithm is that it's not just looking to see if you're getting those signals, it's looking at the speed in which you're getting them. So if you upload a post and on an average day, you get 20 likes within the first 24 hours, and then the next day you upload a post and you get 300 likes within the first hour, that is a strong signal to the explore page algorithm that this post is trending. It's got the ability to go viral. I don't know why I'm doing this so much. I mean the words I'm saying. I don't know why I'm doing this. So if you trigger some popularity signals and you trigger them to happen quickly, that is what allows you to get onto the explore page. And then we have the Reels algorithm, because yes, Reels are bougie enough to have its own algorithm. Now, what I'm referring to here is when you open up the little Reels tab and then you just scroll. The Reels you're seeing on that tab are there because of this specific algorithm. And the core things to know about your Reels is that Reels are built for entertainment over anything else. This means that Instagram is actively searching for content that people are going to find entertaining, which means a lot of the Reels that you see when you scroll won't be from people you follow. That also means that it's a huge growth opportunity for us, because if the algorithm likes us and it gives us a good rank, our Reel could be shown to a bunch of people who don't follow us yet, which means they could see it and then follow us and our audience size would grow. Some of the unique signals that the Reels algorithm looks at include whether or not your audience watched your Reel the whole way through. This is called retention. It's one of the most important metrics for any form of video content anywhere, like not just Reels, anywhere, right? The longer you're able to retain your audience attention throughout a video, the more successful that video will be. That even stands for the video that you're watching right now. So if you've watched this whole video and you've not skipped through it and you continue doing that until the very end, which you should, by the way, because I am dropping so much information, that's going to massively help this video perform well as well. Now, there are loads of reasons for this and I won't get into it, but basically it means that you're keeping people on their platform for longer, which is always a huge win for a social media platform. Another key signal that a lot of people don't know about is if people watch your Reel and then click on the audio. So people go and click on your audio off the back of your Reel, the Reels algorithm will see that as a positive signal and it will help your ranking. All right, let's talk about stuff that's maybe a bit more negative, but it's okay because I'm going to frame it in a way that's super helpful. We're going to talk about some things that are potentially working against you when it comes to the algorithms that a lot of people don't realize or know about. First up, back-to-back posting can suppress your reach. Now, I've spoken about the importance of not over posting on Instagram quite often. The reason why this is a thing is because Instagram doesn't want to show too many posts from the same person in a row, which means that if you're posting back to back, you're actually reducing the chances of all of your posts getting a good amount of reach. I usually recommend that you don't post more than one feed post. So like a video, a carousel, a photo, more than one a day. The only exception to this is if you have a big audience, so you already have tens of thousands of followers, because there's just more people to potentially see your content that way. So if you post more than once, you can still see a lot of success. For most of us mere mortals, one a day is fine. Also, what a great problem to have, by the way, if you're someone who's like, I just have so much content. I just want to post 4 times a day. I'm kind of jealous of you. Next up, the recommendable filter. Not its official name. What I'm referring to here is the fact that some content Instagram will see as recommendable and some not so much. So any content that is low resolution, right, that has watermarks on it. So this is when you've got the little stamp showing maybe where you created the video. The only exception to this is Instagram edits. If you have that little stamp on it, sometimes it actually helps your content perform better. But any other third-party editing app like CapCut or whatever, if you have that watermark on there or God forbid, TikTok or another social media platform, it's potentially going to impact how your content ranks on the algorithms. In addition to that, Instagram doesn't like to recommend muted videos, reels with borders around it, interestingly. Majority text reels, and this is a bit of a change to what used to be really popular a few years back. So, you know, those reels that would have like paragraphs of text. I'm going to find a really old one that I used to create and put it on the screen. And also reels focused on political issues. I don't want you to hear that and think, oh, that means that I can't talk about an issue that's incredibly important to you, especially given the time that we are living in. I don't think that's what that should mean. Just don't be surprised if it doesn't get as much reach as your other content does. It's annoying, but it's just the way the platform works. Another core watch out is to do with safety and misinformation. Instagram has community guidelines. I'm going to link to them below. Read them, learn them, love them. These are the things that you need to know about, because if you break these community guidelines, not only will your content not rank very highly, but also it might suppress the reach of your future content for a while as well. That brings me on to the last point, which is shadow banning and what that actually means. People don't talk about shadow banning as much as they used to, but it was a real thing back in the day. It's essentially a broad term that people use for different experiences, but all of these experiences has one thing in common. It usually means that your content isn't performing as well as it once did. The key thing to note here, and this has come from Instagram themselves, is that whilst they don't support the term of shadow banning, penalties do exist. So your content suddenly not reaching a lot of people, that could be due to a penalty. That's usually because you've broken a community guidelines. Where shadow banning gets really complicated and starts to lose its accuracy is when people's content just doesn't do as well as it normally does. And that's because it's not recommendable. Please see the section that I just filmed about how to make sure it is recommendable. Or maybe it's not reaching the right audience, right? There's so many other reasons. And I think that's why shadow banning as a term got a bit convoluted. Now let's talk about some practical things that you could do to ensure that your content ranks as highly as possible. Now there are 3 core things I want you to focus on here. The first is to lean into signal boosting actions. We all know about the signals by now because I've gone through them all. And if you skipped through different parts of this video, I recommend you go through and watch it from the beginning so that you know all of the signals that I'm talking about. Now, as we know, the different algorithms have slightly different signals, but there are some things you could be doing that will help you across the board. For example, being hyper specific with your content and your audience. Notice I didn't say the word niche. We're not talking about niching in this video. Instead, we're talking about going very deep with a specific group of people, their likes, their interests, their dislikes, etc., and shamelessly targeting and creating content for that group of people. Remember what I said about Instagram's algorithms being a matchmaking service? The more clear your audience are, the easier it is for the algorithms to find that audience. Next tip is to lean into one of the strongest engagement signals there is, which are comments. Research conducted by Buffer actually found that creators who respond to comments see 21% more engagement across the board. And that doesn't just include the extra comment that they now have because they responded to a comment. That's not what we're referring to. We're referring to general engagement. And I can put my hand up and say, as recently as a month ago, I started to drop the ball with my comments. I'm so sorry, I'm getting better. And my overall performance of my content also dropped. Obviously, there are so many reasons for that, but I do think that's a clear example of there being a clear link. Now, you've probably heard people talk about responding to comments in the past. Let me give you some advanced tips just in case you're rolling your eyes at me. One advanced tip is to do tone matching. So depending on the tone and the length of the comment you received, match that tone in your response. So if you just got an emoji, respond with just an emoji, etc., etc. Another core tip is to utilize ManyChat. That is a tool that I use whenever I upload posts where I have a call to action which says, comment the word algorithm and I'll send you a free guide to blah, blah, blah. And then you comment and you get an automatic DM. That's driven by ManyChat. And as a result of me utilizing ManyChat, I get significantly more comments, which overall helps the performance of my content. The third tip here is to see relationship building on social media as important as the content itself. Let that sink in. Now, we know by now that Instagram uses engagement signals from not just us, the creators, but also from our potential audience to figure out who we have a relationship with and therefore who should see our content, right? That's some of the strongest signals that exist. So the more effort we put into triggering engagement, building relationships, starting conversations with our audience, the more popular our content will be and the higher it will rank. I actually have an engagement challenge, by the way, that I run inside my membership. I'll link to it below because you can do it whenever you like. And it's a 4-week challenge and every single day you have different proven tactics to do to help increase your engagement. So by the end of the 4 weeks, most people see a significant jump in their engagement. Works for every platform. Congratulations for making it to this point in this video. You now know more about Instagram's algorithm than the average human being. I'm going to reward your attention with some very interesting information about what's changing to Instagram's algorithm this year. Now, the main change coming to Instagram's algorithm this year, and it's already started to happen, is that Instagram has now given users the ability to manipulate their algorithm. And what I mean by that is users now have the ability to specify what topics they want to see content from on the app, which means they can open up their app one day and say, do you know what? I don't want to see fashion content anymore. I just want to see finance. And they can change the algorithm so that they only see financial content. This is huge. Instagram has never given people this much control before, although it is worth noting that they have been slowly introducing different tools that have given people slightly more control over the last year or so. For example, you can now temporarily change your home feed so it's chronological. You can mute people that you follow. You can add people to close friends. And when you do that, their content will be prioritized on your home feed. You can even mark content as not interested. And when you do that, you decrease the chances of you seeing similar content from that creator or about that topic in the future. All of this to say that this is a huge trend coming to Instagram and most platforms in general. They strongly believe that most interactions and engagements actually happen in small groups in the DMs. So when it comes to the home feed, the explore page, the reels tab, the stories, etc., they're actually moving to a space where they're trying to give people more control over what they see while still retaining the ability to have an algorithm that dictates the order in which they see that content. So the algorithm is still key, but what's also important is being super specific with what you talk about. So if you have a handful of topics that you rotate between, you're going to benefit from this new algorithm. Because if you always talk about fashion, finance, why are they the only two things coming to my head? If you always talk about fashion, finance, photography, and food, and you consistently rotate around those 4 topics, the chances of your content appearing when someone out there says, I just want to see content about food, becomes significantly higher than if you spoke about 50 things and never really focused on a few. Do you get me? Okay, you now know everything you need to know about Instagram's algorithm. If you feel like hanging around, I recommend watching this video. I take you behind the scenes of how I created this reel. Literally from start to finish, I break down the entire process, my kit, my scripting, all of it. Don't forget that if you want to get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/Jade Beason or click the link in my description. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I can't wait to see you in my next video.